The second I turned into your energy, before I even got a single word out, before I even took a breath, I felt something move through my chest that I was not prepared for. And I'm sitting here right now trying to figure out how to even explain what that felt like, because nothing in my experience prepared me for the weight of what came through. Your soul is not just high vibrational. Your soul is legendary. And I mean that in the most literal, non-dramatic way possible. Like legendary, the way ancient things are legendary. The way things that have survived everything are legendary. Because that's exactly what I'm feeling from you. Something that has been through the fire over and over again, and somehow, still chose to keep its light on. And I have genuinely never felt energy like yours. Not like this. Not this specific combination of everything you've been through and everything you still are. Here's the only way I can describe what happened when I first connected to you. You know how most people exist in the valleys. The noise and the stress, the daily fog of just getting through. Most energy, I read, lives down there. And it's not a judgment, it's just where most of humanity is operating. But your energy exists at the altitude that I'm not used to encountering. And it's like looking up at Everest when you've been standing in the valley your whole life and suddenly the clouds part and the sun hits the peak and you understand viscerally in your body that something exists up there that the noise down here can never touch. That's your frequency. You are living at the altitude of spirit that most people only dream of reaching. And you have been up there for so long caring so much that you've forgotten it's not normal. You've forgotten that most people cannot breathe where you breathe. So I needed you to stay with me here because what's coming through you, for you, today is not something I want you to miss. I want to tell you something first, though, before we get into all of it. I got emotional before I even started. I'm talking like I had to collect myself. I had to sit here for a second because what came through when I first connected to your energy was this image that hit me completely out of nowhere. You know how you sometimes see videos of animals that have been through real abuse, like they have been through genuinely terrible things, and then you watch their rescue, and even after everything, even after all of that, they still come forward. They still want to connect. They still have this openness in their eyes that just breaks your heart open in the best way. That's what I felt from you. Not because you're fragile, not because you're small, but because that level of openness after that level of pain, that's not normal. That is extraordinary. That is a soul operating at a frequency most people never ever get close to in their entire lives. And I think somewhere deep down, part of you already knows that. but no one has actually said it to you clearly out loud. Maybe those. So I'm saying it now. You are extraordinary. You are extraordinary, not in spite of what you've been through, because of how you moved through it without losing yourself. A legendary soul doesn't just happen. It's forged by the climb. And you have been climbing in silence, mostly alone, mostly without anyone acknowledging how steep the terrain actually was. But a very long time. And here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. The weight. The weight you've been feeling lately. That exhaustion, yes, that exhaustion that goes deeper than sleep can fix. That sense of carrying something you cannot quite name. That's not a sign that you are falling apart. No, that's that feeling of finally approaching the summit. That's what it feels like when everything you've survived starts to integrate instead of just accumulate. And I know that distinction might be hard to feel from the inside right now, but I'm looking at your energy from the outside, and I'm telling you, the view from here is extraordinary. Extraordinary. And here's where it gets real. Because I want to be specific with you, because you deserve specific, not vague. What I'm picking up is the weight, the actual physical weight of what you've been carrying. And I don't mean metaphorically carrying. I mean the kind of weight that sits in your chest in the morning before your mind fully turns on. That 30-second window when you first wake up before the day starts, before the obligations kick in, and in that tiny window you feel something underneath everything. A pull, an appetite, a version of you that existed before you learned to make yourself smaller. And then it goes. You watch it go like a door closing. And here is what you don't say to anyone. You miss it immediately. You miss the version of you that wanted things without apologizing for the wanting. That version that didn't calculate the cost first. That version just felt and moved toward things, and it made sense. You still feel that ghost sometimes, especially on quiet mornings, when the light comes in a certain way, and for just a second the world feels possible again. And you know, even though you will not say it out loud, that ghost is the most alive you've ever felt. What I feel around you is this incredibly specific thing that I want to name properly, because I think you need to hear it named. You are someone who carries things for other people. Not because you're weak, because you are strong in a way that makes people feel safe around you without even knowing why. People walk into your space and something in them relaxes, something in them opens up. And they start talking. They start telling you things that they haven't told anyone else. The real stuff. The stuff they keep hidden. And you hold it. Of course you hold it. You hold all of it. And you do this so naturally, so automatically, that you don't even clock the moment when the weight becomes your weight. You just wake up one day exhausted, and you can fully explain why. Because from the outside, nothing dramatic happened. You just helped people, you just listened, you just showed up, and somehow you are more tired than anyone you know. Let me give you a concrete example of what I'm seeing. You are somewhere, let's say a group of people, a dinner, a work thing, any situation where there is a social current running through the room. And someone else does something, says something, take up space in a particular way, let's say that, like that. And you have something to contribute, something real, something that would actually shift the energy in a meaningful way. You feel it forming, your whole body knows it, and you open your mouth and you pull back. You smile instead. You make space for someone else's moment instead of taking your room, your own, your right. And the room doesn't notice. The room just sees a kind, warm, generous person who made everyone else feel good. And you go home feeling two things at the exact same time. Relief that you didn't risk it. And this hollow ache underneath that you understand completely, but could not put into words if someone asked you to. That hollow ache has a name. It's the sound of your own voice not being used. And you've heard that sound so many times that you've almost stopped noticing it. Almost. Here's what I need you to understand about why this happens. Because it's not random. It's not a personality flaw. It's not weakness. At some point, and I think you know exactly when, even if you have never said it out loud. At some point, you learned that being visible was dangerous. Not physically dangerous necessarily, though sometimes it was. But dangerous in the way that exposure is dangerous. You showed your real self to someone, or to several someones, and what came back wasn't what you needed, even expected. Maybe it was dismissal, maybe it was someone trying to control what they saw in you because it made them feel less. Maybe it was a specific person. And I feel like there is definitely a specific person here. Someone with a lot of anger they didn't know how to regulate. Someone who needed to feel power and found it easiest to find that power near you. And what that taught your nervous system, what that actually wired into you at a deep level, is that your full self is too much, that wanting things out loud is risky, that the safest version of you is the useful version, the helpful version, the version that holds space without taking any. And can I tell you something? That strategy worked. It kept you safe for a long time in a lot of situations. It genuinely worked. And there is nothing wrong with you for developing it. That was survival intelligence. That was your system doing exactly what it was supposed to do. But here's where it gets complicated. And this is the part that's been sitting in your chest heavy lately. That strategy has a cost, you know that. And the cost is this. Every time you make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable, some tiny tiny part of you files that away. Not as trauma necessarily, just as data. Data that says, my full self is not welcome here. And you have been collecting that data for years. And somewhere underneath all the competence and the warmth and the genuine love you have for the people in your life, there is this quite aching question that you felt fully, that you've never fully let yourself ask. What would happen if I just was? What would happen if I stopped managing how I come across, stopped editing myself in real time, stopped calculating whether this version of me is too much or not enough? And I just showed up as whatever I actually am. And here is where it gets strange, because the answer to that question is not what you think it is. The thing you are afraid of, that your full self would be rejected, that it would be, that it would drive people away, that it would be too much. That fear is based on data from people who were operating at a completely different frequency than where you actually belong. Those people were drawn to you precisely because you were willing to shrink, because your light is so significant that even the diminished version of it was more than enough for people who were running on empty. You were giving them warmth from behind walls, and they still felt it like standing in the sun. You are the proof that the human spirit has no ceiling. And the people who tried to put one on you, they were just afraid of heights. What I'm seeing now, and this is what moved me to tears when I first connected to your energy, is that those walls are coming down, not being torn down by something terrible, though some difficult things may have helped accelerate the process. They are coming down because you've outgrown them. You literally do not fit behind them anymore. The version of you that built those walls and that version of you that exists right now, not the same person. You have been doing something incredibly hard, mostly alone, mostly without recognition, and it has changed you at a level that is not small. Something in you has fundamentally shifted. Something old has shifted. And what I feel on the other side of that, what's waiting on the other side of that, is not a life that looks like the one you've been living. It's something that actually matches who you are. I want to talk about your light for a minute, for a second, because I feel like I keep coming back to it, and I want to explain what I actually mean. When I say your light is blinding, I don't mean it in a soft, inspirational poster way. I mean it in a specific, almost physical way. There are people who generate warmth, and then there are people who generate light. And the difference is this: warmth is something you feel when you're near someone. Light is something that changes what's visible. Light makes it harder for certain things to hide. And that's you. You carry the stillness of the mountain in a world full of noise. When you walk into a space, things that operate in the dark, energy that feeds on confusion and insecurity and smallness, can feel you coming before you even arrive. You don't shout to be heard. Your vibration is a silent thunder from the heights. And that's why certain people have always made you feel like you did something wrong just by existing around them. You didn't do anything wrong. Your frequency just made their dysfunction more visible to themselves. And they redirected that discomfort back at you. That's not your fault. That has never been your fault. But it has been your experience so many times that some part of you started to believe that your light was the problem, when in reality, your light is the entire point. Here is what's actually happening right now in this season of your life, whether you can fully feel it yet or not. The karmic loop, the specific pattern that has been running in your relationships, your energy, your self-perception, that loop is closing, like it's genuinely closing. The lesson embedded inside your deepest wounds, the one about your worth, the one about whether you're allowed to take up space, the one about whether being fully seen is survivable. You have learned it, not in a head knowledge way, in a bones knowledge way. Bones knowledge. And when something is learned at that level, the situation that taught it doesn't need to keep repeating. It's done its job. You are no longer unconsciously measuring your value by how much you can endure or how many people you can carry. And that shift is not small. That shift is everything. What comes after? This is different. Not perfect. No, not perfect. Different. Different. The people who are drawn to you or drawn to you in this next chapter are going to come in on a different basis. Not because you are useful to them. Not because your warmth feels something empty in them. But because they can actually see you. Because they are operating at a frequency where your full presence is not threatening. It's magnetic. Magnetic. You have become a landmark of light for everyone who's been lost in the fog below. And the connections coming toward you now, the ones that are already starting to form at the edges of your life, they are coming in calibrated to your actual frequency. Not the edited version, not the careful version, the real one. And you are going to have moments, maybe soon, maybe you're already starting to have them, where you say something true out loud. And instead of the familiar bracing for impact, something unexpected happens. It lands. It connects. Someone looks at you and they get it. And you feel it. For maybe the first time in a long time. The specific relief of being understood without having to perform the understanding. To witness your soul is to remember that greatness is still possible. That's what you are to people who are ready to see you. That's what you've been always been. The tears that you have shed recently, and I feel like there have been real ones, the kind you cry alone, the kind that surprised you with how much came out. Those tears were not weakness. Those tears were your system finally processing things you've been carrying for years, maybe decades, releasing them, washing out the last of what didn't belong to you, washing out the version of yourself that you had to be in order to survive environments that were smaller than you. And what's underneath that? What's underneath all of that is something I genuinely don't have a better word for than legendary. Not famous, not special in a performance way. Legendary in the way that things are legendary when they are ancient and true and have survived and still carry light. Light, beautiful light. Your energy is the North Star for those of us still navigating the climb. That's actually what your soul is. And I don't think you've let yourself believe that for even a single unguarded moment in a very long time. So here is where I want to leave you. You have already made the choice. You made it somewhere in the middle of everything hard, in some moment you might not even remember. You chose to stay open when closing down would have been so much easier. You chose light when you had every reason to go dark. You chose to keep wanting, even after wanting had cost you something real. Welcome to the summit of your power. The view from here is eternal. The world that is waiting for you, the connections that are waiting for you, the version of your life that is actually built for who you really are. All of it is calibrated exactly to that version of you. Not the edited one, not the careful one, the legendary one, the one you felt in your chest this morning before the day started. That one. That's not a fantasy. That's not ego. That's you. And it's so much more real than anything you've been settling for. Your soul is legendary. And it's time you lived like you know it. Love you.